Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, September the 11th, 2025. Well, it's Curtis's turn to talk to Anna. Martin is his attorney. I mean, these attorneys are getting used, but realistically, it's like I said yesterday, whoever they finally zero in as the shooter is going to be the attorney that's going to be needed. So it'd probably be Diane representing Michael, even though that case is going to fall flat on the ADA's face because Drew's going to be lying. 100% lying. Curtis told his whereabouts, and Anna was saying, well, it's everybody knows, or it's common knowledge that you're upset at Curtis for orchestrating some type of insurance thing against your Aunt Stella. And Curtis said, yeah, pretty much, you know. And so she says, okay, so where are your whereabouts? There is a gap in Curtis's timeline. She said, because your Aunt Stella says you dropped her off at 8:25 and you didn't come home till after midnight. And he says, well, after I dropped her off, I needed to clear my head. So I went to the Savoy. And she goes, okay, so then your employee should be able to vouch for you. My whole thing is, why does he still have that Savoy? Come on now. But anyway, he says, no, I went in the back entrance, although I didn't know they had one. I went in the back entrance and went into my office, and nobody knew I was there. He says, then I left around 10:50 to meet Jordan at, a bar. And she goes, and he says, and I stayed with her till after midnight, talking. And she says, so Jordan would corroborate that, right? He goes, yeah. So she says, so you do understand there is a gap in your timeline. And he said, yeah. And so Martin said, last I checked, Commissioner, it's not a crime to be alone thinking in your office, right? Because it's not, which is why I said early on, even when Michael and Curtis were talking yesterday, when Michael said, I'm trying to find Justinda so that she could be my alibi, why didn't Curtis say, you know what? I don't have an alibi for the time frame. I've got a gap from like 8:25 to, however, Curtis's gap is longer than my, no, to 10:50. And Michael would be, I've got a gap from, let's say, 8:25. It's interesting, all the way until Wiley, they called when Wiley had his little bad dream, 10:30. Man, hey, Curtis, let's say we help each other out. And let's say I called you to meet me at Aurora offices, or you called me to meet me in your office at Aurora, and we were there. Now, mind you, the Metro Court does have cameras, but are there cameras at Aurora? Or forget Aurora. Hey, Curtis, why don't you say we met here at the Brown Dog before Jordan got there? So you and I were talking. I left, you know, uh, Jacinda at the Port Charles Grill, and I headed on over because you wanted to talk. And I left just shortly before Jordan got there. What time you say Jordan met you? And he tell him, said, see, bottom line, they can have each other's back. Now Curtis has a gap, and Michael It was too cute, y'all. I loved it. Dante comes knocking on Jacinda's door, right? And Jacinda opens the door in her little nighty lingerie, cute. And he goes, Jacinda, whatever her name is. She goes, yes. He goes, Dante Falconer from PCPD. I got a few questions for you. She looks, he goes, do you mind if I come in? And she's like, well, you must, right? And I thought Michael was going to be there. I thought Michael was going to be in the bed. Dante walks into the room. Michael comes out from where the bathroom area is, buttoning up his belt button or clasp there at the top. And he looks at his brother like, wow, hey, brother dear. Dante looks at the bed and he looks at Michael. He said, fancy meeting, seeing you here. And he goes, yeah, I didn't think I'd see you this soon. Again, Dante. So Dante says, do you mind if I asked you some questions, Jacinda, regarding the night the congressman was shot? So Jacinda says, I don't mind. So of course, she and Michael talked at the bar. They met, they talked at the bar. They left at 8:25. Around that time. Said, we came back here. And Dante looked at her, looked at Michael. Michael's like, you got it like I got it. He's just looking at his brother. And he goes, okay, what time did Michael leave here? She said, about 10:30. Yeah, about 10:30. He goes, okay. Thank you for answering my questions. And she says, oh, okay. Well, if that's it, I'm going to go take a shower. No, he goes, do you mind if I talk to my brother in private for a few minutes? And she says, oh, no, I'll go take a shower. So he says, Michael, what are you doing? He says, what do you mean, what am I doing? He said, no, I'm not buying this story at all. And nobody else is going to buy it either. This is not the truth. It is clear you're paying her to give you an alibi. Michael's just looking at Dante like, is it? And so Dante says, well, Dante, when you found me earlier today, I was with her. He goes, yeah, but you were probably trying to get her, you were probably telling her you need her to give you an alibi. And Michael's just looking at him. And he goes, come on, man, it's me and you. Just tell me the truth. Because hiring a sex worker is absolutely not you. Well, for one thing, doesn't mean he hired her. It's like Justinda said, they met. She didn't say he was my job for the night, right? So anyway, he says, just tell me the truth, me and you. And when Dante said that, I said, Michael, don't forget 20 years ago when Dante said, I'm your brother, just tell me the truth about Claudia Zakara. And you told your brother the truth. Your brother died on you. Your brother said, you got to go turn yourself in. If you don't, I will. So, no, it's not just you and him. Right now, your brother is on the clock. So it's you, Dante, and the PCPD, right? So Michael just looked at him, and Dante's phone rang, and that was Lulu talking about, Rocco was having to be taken to GH. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. So he just says, he leaves. Justinda comes out and says, oh, and then she's in her dress, and Michael's fully dressed now. And she goes, so your brother left? Because Dante said, you know who I am to Michael, or Michael may have said, this is my brother. She found out they were brothers. And she goes, oh, I didn't know that, right? So she goes, oh, so your brother, the detective, left? He goes, yeah, family emergency. She goes, do you think he bought our story? Said, we barely had time to stage the room. You were right that the PCPD were going to act quickly into getting my statement. And he said, yeah, I knew. I knew he would. She goes, do you think he bought our story? He said, no. She said, isn't that a bad thing? He says, no. He says, look, he has to enter what you told him in your statement on the official record, whether he believes it or not. He has to say what he observed in the room, which was a very messed up bed. Michael coming out from the bathroom area, buttoning up his pants. He goes, no, he has to report what he saw as well. That's all we need. Whether he believes it or not. And I thought, see, there you go, Michael. That's why I like you. That is 100% why I like you. And so she says, okay. He says, now, we helped each other out. She says, yeah, I don't have an alibi for when the congressman was shot. And he goes, and neither did I. Now we do. She said, because I was going to blackmail Drew. I came back here to blackmail him for more money, right? And look, if they do a twist of fate, she did try. He said no. But see, Justinda doesn't strike me as the type to have a gun. She really doesn't. So it's not her. But you know what? I don't know what GH is gonna do, right? I don't know. And one thing when she was in the shower or the bathroom, Dante told Michael, you do know she has connections to Drew. This is gonna be a mess. And Michael says, I mean, I know now. I didn't know when I met her. you know. So I like that. I like that little tit for tat Michael did. So Willow finally opens her mouth. But everybody, did you notice her body language to Drew? Her whole body language. She's standing there with her hands behind her back. Willow, I'm so happy to see you. You're all I've been thinking about. And she's just looking at it. Hands behind her back. How are you feeling, Drew? Oh, it's all worth it. I mean, because look, I'm going to blame this on Michael. She said, so you saw you saw Michael, it was Michael because you saw him? He goes, well, I didn't see him. He got shot in the back. He says, but I'm going to say it. He goes, I've already said it was him. And she says, but if you didn't see him, how is that going to? She goes, look, traumatic memories can come on you all of a sudden at any time. And I'm just going to get some memories. In other words, he's going to say somehow it blocked it out, but Michael had come into the house and he saw me. He'll say something. As I hit the ground, I looked up and something. He's going to try to now come up with something else. And so he says, now, unless you're uncomfortable with Michael taking the fall for this, she says, well, Drew, bottom line, if you pin this on Michael, because Michael didn't do this, then the real killer is still out there, Drew. And they can come back and get you at any time. And he says, I know, but that's a chance I'm just going to have to take. So my whole thing is, Willow, if it wasn't you, You need to remember this moment right here. Because he said getting Michael out of the way, because Carly had come in ranting and raving and interrupted them, you know, and him saying, well, you threatened me, and Elizabeth heard it. So I'm going to, matter of fact, I'm going to get the detectives back in and tell them what you did. Carly said, I don't care what you tell them. She said, you tell them all you want. And yeah, I absolutely did threaten you. Uh, but fact of the matter is, I didn't shoot you. But absolutely, I threatened you. She came to say, Scout, with him being shot, if he could please think of his daughter. Right now, either let her stay at the Quartermains. Danny is beside himself, worrying about his sister. If you don't want that, Alexis, let the girl stay with her grandmother. And he's like, no. My wishes are that if anything happened to me, Willow will take care of Scout. And Carly just looked and she just shook her head. And she said, I knew I should expect nothing better from you. And she looked at Willow and she goes, and you know what, you too. And she walked out, right? So anyway, Willow's just looking at him. And what I was saying about Willow, remember this moment. Because if you didn't, your statement is 100% true. Whoever actually shot Drew is still out there. They could try again, and Willow could be with them. Scout could be home. Her kids, if his plan goes according to plan, her kids could be in the house too. And there'd be another attempt on his life. But like he said, that's a chance he's willing to take. He's willing to take chances with all your lives just to pin something on Michael. And he goes, unless you're uncomfortable with me doing it. She goes, no, I will do whatever it takes to get my kids back. So he goes, yeah. I said, oh, see, this is why. One thing I can 100% say, and I'm saying this because General Hospital better do this. That's going to backfire in his face and hers too. If it does not, I want to say, I'm going to stop watching General Hospital. The truth of the matter is, I'm still going to watch but be pissed off every day. Some angry recaps, right? I actually might have to call the ABC hotline because there is one, right? Call the hotline and voice my displeasure in the show. But I'll still watch. But anyway, now we get Britt. Britt's laying all on Jason's, shoulder, arm, shoulder, kind of chest, just on that plane, snoozing. And she kind of falls a little bit and it kind of wakes her up. And Jason was just looking down at her. And she goes, oh okay. Whew. Fell asleep I was tired, fell asleep for a little while. Jason looked at her. He said, yeah, all 4 hours. Jesus, the past 4 hours. And she looked at him. Well, you need to be getting some sleep too. You just staring at your pull down table, right? So tit for tat, and he's asking her questions. Who are you working for? It's just a job. I'm doing research. Research on what? Cold fusion. And he goes, who are Britt? You have to know who you're working for. She goes, I'm not going to tell you. He says, well, I tell you this, the WSB, he goes, you seem to have wanted to get out of there quick so you didn't have to answer any of their questions. He said, but Britt, they're going to catch up to you and you're going to have to answer their questions. And she goes, and I can handle it when that happens. Right. And then she brought up, you sure did. He goes, well, look, she goes, when we get off this plane, we're both going our separate ways. And Jason just looked at her and he goes, okay, really? He goes, you do know there's a lot you have to do. Because, see, you've been declared dead. This is something I know a little about. You're going to have everything reversed. Okay, that takes some time. Bank accounts, I mean, just how you going to take care of you? Where you going to stay? How you going to take care of that till it happens? And she goes, I'll figure it out. He goes, I can help you. I don't want your help because I can't depend on you. You sure did. Soon as you heard Jocelyn's name, you ran out on me. She goes, everything always leads back to Carly. That's Carly's daughter. He goes, Jocelyn, you told me she was in trouble. And it's a good thing I did leave when I, go save her when I did. He says, plus, I knew I had time to come back and save you, which I did. Right? And he goes, but there's a lot of people in Port Charles that missed you. She goes, nobody missed me in Port Charles. He goes, yes, Britt, your mother missed you. She just looked like Muta, right? She didn't say it, but she had that Muta look in her face, right? And he goes, and I missed you. And she looked at him like, he goes, still, I don't want nothing from you. And he's like, she goes, Seth, do you have $20? Because I'm gonna need to catch a cab when we land. And he looks at her. She goes, oh, but you know what, Jason? Make that 40 because I like to tip the cab. Better yet, you know what? How much money you got on you? Jason looks at her. So I love those two together. Their chemistry is just off the charts to me. It always has been, right? So he reaches in his pocket and the hundreds on the outside of his little, wasn't a huge wad, but money wad. And he just here. So she takes it. This is just a loan. And even for this plane ticket, it's just a loan. And she goes, business class isn't what it used to be. And I thought, well, that almost looked like first class to me, but okay. Seats were huge. I've been on business class and those seats aren't that big, but okay. So anyway, the plane lands and they go their separate ways. Carly leaves Drew and Carly goes to Anna and says, look, I have something I have to tell you because you're going to hear about it anyway. And Anna says, what? She says, I threatened Drew. I threatened to kill him. And Elizabeth heard me. So I'm sure, I just left Drew, a few moments ago. I'm sure he's going to tell you that next. And Anna says, so you threatened to kill Drew. Carly says, but I didn't shoot him. I have an alibi. And Anna says, so where were you during the time that Drew got shot? I was with Jack Brennan all evening. Anna says, of course you were. Jack happened to say the same thing. He told me this earlier. So Carly was like, well, shoot, then you already know, girl. We're wasting my time, right? So she says, but doesn't mean it's true. And Carly says, what? She goes, just because Jack is saying it and you're saying it doesn't mean that's true. Carly says, well, I'm sure Jack can give you all the evidence you need. And Anna says, oh, he 100% can, because he's WSB. That's definitely something he could do. She says, but Jack Brennan is a liar, Carly. And that's something you should know. He is a skilled liar. And so Carly says, look, Jack cannot tell me about his WSB business. He could, he may lie, shield me from that. But we have an agreement. As a matter of fact, you know what, y'all? I have a video, and I am getting ready to play the video footage. All right, I am getting ready to share my screen right now with this computer sound. This is Carly, right? Talking to Anna about, Jack. Oh, she could trust him. So here we go.
But when it comes to our relationship, we have an understanding, okay?
Do you honestly believe that?
Yes, I do. Jack would never lie to me.
Here's Britta.
Believe it or not, Lulu, I'm back.
Loved it. I loved that scene. Now, I'm going to have to give you some backstory as to why Dante and Lulu were there, Nina's there, and Dr. Obrecht's there. Okay. So anyway, but I loved that she decided she was just going to face it head on and go to GH. I don't know who she thought, what she thought was going to be there, because she didn't know all those people were going to be there. But anyway, little bit backstory. Charlotte and Rocco had Outback at one of the little pubs. I don't think that was the Port Charles Grill. That was Cherie, someplace, one of those little places. They were getting croissants. Now, mind you, Charlotte's supposed to be on punishment, right? Allegedly. But they had Outback tied to the table. These people, they've forever taken the dog into places dogs aren't supposed to be. Dr. Obrecht walks in and she sees little Outback tied to the table. She goes, Outback, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. And she's petting him, and Outback is just loving her and everything. And Dante and Charlotte walk over. She goes, good to see you too, young, whatever she called, young Rocco. And she goes, hi, I'm Rocco's grandmother, Lisa Obrecht. And Rocco goes, this is my sister Charlotte. And so Charlotte said, grandmother. She goes, well, not really, technically, no, but I consider myself that. And so she says, well, I am going to get myself some coffee or whatever she's going to get herself. So she goes over there, and Dante and Charlotte sit down. And then Dr. Obrecht comes back with a muffin, even though Rocco had his croissant. She comes back with a muffin. And Rocco's looking down at Outback. And he goes, how did you do this? Outback's leash was all tangled up. So, of course, he takes the dog off leash. Now, we're talking they're in a restaurant. or a little pub, a little wherever establishment where dogs aren't supposed to be. And then I know I'm going to get comments, daily recap lady, you don't know dogs aren't allowed. I'm sorry, yes, I do. You've never seen dogs in there before. Okay, and Rocco's not a service dog. So, so anyway, she puts the muffin down. She goes, I bought this for you because you need to eat more. You're too skinny. And she's tugging on his little cheek. And Charlotte's just kind of looking amused. And somebody opens the door. Outback runs out. And Rocco's like, Outback. And they both take off running after the dog. And then Liso comes, outside the door too. But she's just looking at them run after the dog. Outback is like, look, I'm trying to find Emma right now, and I'm going to find her. I'm having fun with you guys, but I'm going to find Emma. So Rocco comes back bleeding all in his forehead. And Obert says, Rocco, what happened? And I can't do Obert's accent. I wish I could. I could just say Eulipian, but she didn't call him that. So anyway, she goes, Charlotte insisted I come back to have this looked at, so you could take care, fix it. And so she takes a napkin and she's dabbing, and she goes, I'm sorry, young Rocco, but I can't fix this. You have to go to the hospital. This needs stitches. While he was chasing Outback, he ran into a tree branch and it kind of knocked him and whatever. So Charlotte's still running after the dog all the way to Switzerland. But, anyway, so she goes, no, you need to go get stitches. So he calls his mother. Now, Nina was with his mother. Nina went really because she wants Jack Brennan's protection, but she pretended she wasn't doing this for Brennan, and she really isn't. She's doing it for herself and her daughter. But she was just telling Lulu to just think about how she could turn the situation into her favor. And she said the same thing Carly said. She says, Lulu, I talked to you, Charlotte and I are close. We talk all the time. And Lulu said, yes, I know. She goes, every conversation, she tells me how much she misses her father. She says, you're thinking she's going to forget about him. It's just going to go away. If you don't mention, she goes, well, she never talks to her father about me. She says, no, that's because she knows how you feel about her father. And she knows I feel differently about Valentine. So I'm neutral. She could tell me what she really feels. But I'm telling you, no, the distance and the time has not made her forget about him. She really misses him. She says, now, turn this to your benefit. Make her think you're facilitating a visit, a short visit with her father. She goes, and if you do it right, you could even be there with her. And can you imagine how she's going to look at you after that? And Lulu was thinking, oh, wow, I guess I could. She was actually thinking, Nina was making sense, even though she was saying the same thing Carly said, that if Charlotte finds out that you blocked it, she's going to resent you. But anyway, so then that's when Lulu gets the call. Rocco calls her and says, Mom, don't freak out. She says, well, when you led with that, I am freaked out. What happened? She says, Outback got loose. I had him off leash to untangle him. He ran off. Charlotte's running out trying to find him. I ran into a tree branch, cut my head, and Dr. Obrecht says that I have to go to the emergency room and get stitches. So she goes, you're with Dr. Obrecht? And he goes, ran into her here, Mom. But she goes, no, okay, fine. She goes, Dr. Obrecht's taking me to the emergency room. She goes, you get to the emergency room, I'll meet you there. So he hangs up and Lulu looks at Nina and says, do you think you could go to the emergency room with me? Because you could be a buffer between me and your aunt. And Nina says, sure. Right? Lulu calls Dante, who was in the room with Justinda, just talking to, remember, Justinda went to go take a shower. He was talking to Michael. That's the call Dante got. So Dante is headed to GH as well. So Dante and Lulu beat Rocco and Obret to GH. And Nina's there, of course. So Obret brings Rocco and they see the head in the gash and he goes, Rocco. And she goes, oh no, that does look bad. You needed to come here. And he looked, he goes, look, before you react, Dr. Obret is the only reason I'm here. I would have thought that this wasn't bad. And I wouldn't have come. I would have still be looking for Outback. And so Lulu looked at Liesel and said, thank you for, getting my son here, whatever. And Dante's like, yeah, thank you. So Lucas comes out and says, I'm ready for you, Rocco. So he takes Rocco in and they're standing there. And that's when now we see Britta outside. And she walks in and you saw Elizabeth's the first one to see her and says, oh my God, Britt. Look, she's looking at her ex-boss, right? And they all hear Britt's name, and that's when they all turn, and Britt saw her mother. And then you see how Liesel reacted, which would be the way any mother would react, right? She just like, this can't be. And Lulu's like, no, no, we thought you were, oh, you thought I was dead, Lulu? Well, I'm back. She thought she hated BOQ, right? Britta is back. Yeah. But nobody to apologize for. So anyway, that's going to be good. It's going to be good. And let's see, the only other thing that I need to talk about was Trina. You guys, I'm so taken aback at the way this young woman thinks. I just don't get it. What would you do, if the evidence disappeared? But Portia was saying, you know what, Trina, I mean, bottom line, what I'm doing now is I'm not living afraid under Drew's thumb, She goes, and with the whole situation, I did this because Trina says everything always, you and Dad's marriage breaking up, everything is all because of me. She goes, no, this is not your fault, Trina. Your dad and I will have to work on our own issues. But yes, it started because I was trying to protect you from Heather Weber. Not because of you, I was trying to protect you. She says, and I'm going to tell you, I'd do it all over again. The only thing I would do different is I would have told your father that Drew was blackmailing me when it first started. Well, I'm thinking, well, chick, then you should have started when Brad was blackmailing you. Because that's when it started. But, Portia, right? And she says, and at some point, Trina, if that evidence had to come out or comes out, then I will take responsibility for my actions. But I will never be under Drew Kane's thumb again. And Trina hugs her. Now that's the mother I know. Do you know that chick still didn't tell her mother? This makes no sense that I destroyed the evidence. Kai and I got the evidence and I destroyed it. We burned it. She still has her mother thinking if at some point later it comes. And I said, what could your brain be thinking? Unbelievable. Do you realize the relief your mother would feel knowing the evidence is destroyed? Because she goes, do you think that anybody else could have a copy? And my whole thing is, Brad ain't stupid. He would never give an only copy of anything. What he gave to his Aunt Selena, he made a copy himself. I don't care if it was on his cell phone before he gave it to Selena. And you want to know who else I think would keep a copy? Selena Wu. But yeah, no, nobody. Yeah, okay, y'all think what you want with that. Miss me on that, because somebody else, I know it, but for GH land right now, nobody else, right? So anyway, that was just a nightmare shaking my head with the whole tree. And now every time I see Trina, I'm gonna fast forward her, which I do anyway, but now I'm gonna doubly fast forward her. Oh, Trina, fast forward. There we go. So that's it, everybody. I'm not doing comment corner today because I'm telling you, I'm exhausted. Now I know you can't tell that I'm been up since 1:30 in the morning. I could not go back to sleep. 1:30 in the morning. So I'm exhausted right now, right? Y'all did a good job of comment corner. I was reading them earlier. Put my little likes on them. So keep it up. Keep talking to each other. You're doing a phenomenal job. I will be back tomorrow with another daily recap. It should be real good. Liesl's going to be picked up off the ground. Britta's going to rush over there. Oh, one thing Britta did say, and I'm only calling her Britta because she's about to be with her mother, and her mother calls her Britta, my Lipian, is Britt told Jason she knows she has to get some things cleared up because she has to get her prescription filled. So whatever protocol she's on, she's able to get a prescription for it in the States. That's good news. But I'm sure we'll get to it, or maybe whatever prescription she gets, she could juice it up with whatever she needs to juice it up with. But they'll explain that. So I'll be back tomorrow. We should have a cliffhanger Friday tomorrow. It should be really good. And I'll be back tomorrow with another daily recap of General Hospital.